In this video, the auditor is following audit trails, why they're within the manufacturing process, and in particular focusing on measurement system analysis for attribute measuring systems. Watch this video and see whether the auditor is doing an effective audit. So, as you know, this morning we've been in the aluminium printing area, and obviously there's a lot of visual checking going on within there. So I want to follow up about measurement system analysis for attribute measurement systems. So take me through what you can show me.
Yeah, we have a procedure describing the way we are doing it. And as you mentioned, attribute data, there is a special one, and we have performed it accordingly. We have no actual customer requirement regarding the attribute data, but we decided to have 40 samples each time we perform it. 3 appraisers do the test 10 times with 10 pieces.
Right, so can I see the results of that?
Yeah, they're right here.
Right, so this has been done for what? Who's been involved in this study? Who facilitated this study?
I was the facilitator, and there were 3 operators who are doing the final inspection for that part.
Right, okay, and is this an aluminium printed part?
Yeah, it is.
So this number 768342. Okay, so what I'm looking for then is you to give me some overview then about what does this column mean, where we have reference.
I can tell you, and then the result as such, my colleague will tell you. This reference column contains good parts and bad parts.
Okay, and who made that decision, whether it's good or bad?
The engineering manager made that, and I approved it after his...
Okay, and take me through then, what do these numbers in here mean, where we've got A1, 2 and 3, B1, 2, 3, C1, 2, 3, what does that mean?
That I can explain, and then the figures as such I will give to Devin, my colleague. A1, A2, A3 is the 3 trials for operator A.
Yeah.
B1, B2, B3 is the same, but for operator B. And C1, C2, C3 is the same, but for the 3rd operator.
Right, okay, so they've all looked at these 40 parts.
Exactly.
Then 3 times.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm looking for then, Devin, I understand that you're the statistical expert in MSA. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about the interpretation of the results then. So when we, what tells you whether this is a good or no good study?
So you see this kappa value here. We're looking for something in here. And you can see that these are all good based on the limit defined here, that 0.75 or higher indicates good. And then this is a software that was introduced. So the cross tabulation is done automatically, and it just spits out these, and that's how we know that they're good.
Right, okay, and back to the acceptance value then, where's that come from, this 0.75? Who's made the decision that kappa at 0.75 is acceptable?
You know, that was an organizational decision that 0.75 would be acceptable. Not sure where it comes from further than that.
Right, okay, I will follow that up about customer specifics. And what I'm looking for then is where we've got this count, an experience count in here. What is this telling us, all this data here for A versus C, A versus the reference? What do all these numbers mean?
Yeah, so this is, like I said, something new software does. It just puts these together, and we don't really go into it. Obviously, we're not software engineers here, so we just look at these scores.
Right, okay. And again, when we come to this effectiveness evaluation, reject, null, hypothesis, accepted, alternative, what does that mean?
You know, that's a good question. That's a little outside of my scope of knowledge, but I can follow up and get back with you.
Right, but from what I was told from a responsibilities point of view, you are the statistical expert in this organization.
Correct. Yeah, I just turned over to that, so I'm still learning here.
Right, okay, yeah. And final question then, when we have this effectiveness and miss rate and the false alarm, again, what is that telling us about the measurement system?
So obviously you can see acceptable for appraiser gives our effectiveness greater than 90, marginally acceptable greater than 80. So we're looking for values that match these.
Right. Okay, now I do have a concern there that I'll be honest with you about the statistical awareness. It's great doing these studies, but if we don't really understand some of the detail of the calculation, then maybe you could be making wrong decisions. So I will be recording that in my report.
Yeah, I fully understand that. I can give you one explanation regarding the question you had about effectiveness valuation. The pity is that the one who used to be the statistical expert left the company,
Right, okay.
and Devin was taking over. And sorry to say, we had no overlap in that situation.
Okay, yeah.
He had to leave the company immediately.
Right, okay.
Decision by the managing director.
Yeah. No, I understand. Thanks for that explanation. Okay, so I will follow the audit trail through to the customer-specific requirements and verify if there are customer-specific requirements related to this. Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So, the key learning points. One of the key tools within IATF 16949 is measurement system analysis. And I'm sure many of you will be aware that we can have variable measurement systems or attribute measurement systems. In this particular video, the auditor is focusing more on attribute measurement system analysis. And rightly, the auditor was challenging, are there any customer-specific requirements related to MSA? And in this case, the organization said no. Obviously, the auditor can validate that by looking at the relevant customer-specific requirements, but in many cases, there will not be customer-specific requirements. So in that case, the auditor should challenge the organization then on what reference manual they're using and whether they've defined their own internal process for undertaking attribute measurement system analysis. The auditor should challenge the organization for an attribute measurement system analysis study on how many samples have been selected for the study and how many appraisers. In this case, the organization had taken 40 samples, of which some should be good parts and some should be no good parts. They had selected 3 appraisers. Again, we would need to check, does that align with customer-specific requirements? So the auditor should challenge the organization, for example, on what the reference column means in the attribute analysis. For example, how were the good and the bad parts selected? Who made the decision about whether they were good parts and bad parts? I think in this case, it was the manager who had made that decision. And then the auditor should challenge the organization on the interpretation of the results. For example, in this case, the organization was saying that they were trying to achieve a kappa value of greater than 0.75. The auditor should check, does that meet the requirements of the customer or the organization's own documented process? And if that acceptance value has not been met, what action was taken by the organization to improve the effectiveness of the attribute measurement system? So let's summarize. For any different types of attribute measuring systems that are referenced on the control plan, the organization should have undertaken measurement system analysis. And in an audit, particularly on the shop floor, the auditor should be looking at what types of attribute measurement systems are being used within the production process, and then challenge the organization on the studies that have been undertaken, and also challenging the organization on their understanding of basic statistical concepts. Attribute measurement system analysis has to be undertaken for each type of attribute measurement system that is specified on the control plan. Rather than just looking at the studies, auditors should challenge the organization, and in particular people that are responsible for undertaking studies and interpreting the results, to make sure that they've got adequate knowledge of basic statistical concepts. And through the way that the auditor was undertaking this audit, by basic questioning, they determined that really the basic statistical knowledge wasn't there. And indeed, it could form the basis for a non-conformity in any IATF 16949 audit.